I am leaving my Mercedes here. I'm getting an Uber back to my house. Please just drop me back to my house.
Don't give me the please and bullshit anymore.
Excuse me, please don't curse at me.
Just be quiet.
Absolutely unacceptable for you to curse at a woman and tell a woman to shut up.
Shut up.
So here's what happened. This morning, I left my house, and the first place I went was to the veterinarian's office to get these 2 bags of 2 different prescription diet cat foods for 2 of my cats. Then I got a cup of coffee at the vet's office, but because they only have creamer that has ingredients that I'm allergic to, I only put sugar in my coffee. I was walking to the car with the coffee in one hand and these heavy bags of cat food like sliding out from under my arms, and I tripped and fell because it was raining and the ground was really wet, and I kind of slipped and just fell face forward, and I banged my head right here on my car. I went to the Firestone tire place and noticed a lump was starting to form on my head, so I decided that I better not try to walk to the bus stop and take a bus back here, and then I also have to walk to the house from the bus stop because I was worried I might actually have a concussion. So I tried to get an Uber, but I didn't have any phone service where I was, so I called my dad and I asked him to get me an Uber. And actually what I didn't have was roaming service. I had phone service. I was able to call my dad, but I wasn't able to get any data, so I couldn't get to the Uber app. So I called my dad, I asked my dad to get me an Uber, and when I got into the Uber, I asked, is there any way that you could stop by the post office in Arcata so I can get my mail, because my mail is being held there on the way back to my house? And the guy got really upset. He said, well, you didn't indicate that on the app when you made the reservation. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't actually make the reservation. My dad made the reservation because I couldn't get service on my phone to use the app. And then he said, well, the person who made the reservation didn't do it correctly. And he started like berating me. And all I said before what you're about to see happened is, well, I've taken other Ubers before, and none of the other Uber drivers ever had a problem with stopping at a store that was on the way, on the route. They've always just stopped at the store, let me run into the store really quickly, and then taken me to my house. I think some of them might have charged me extra money for that. I'm willing to pay for that, but no one's ever had a problem with doing that before. The guy just got really angry, and he started just kind of berating me, saying, you didn't use the app correctly. You didn't use the app correctly. I kept saying, well, I'm sorry, but is there any way that you could just stop by the post office? Because all I have to do is run in and get my mail. Then he said, well, there's a really annoying way to do it. I could drop you off at the post office, then you'd have to get another Uber ride from there back to your house. And I said, well, that isn't going to work for me because I've really got to get back to my house, and I've got a lot of heavy stuff, more than I can carry. And that is when he started to park on the side of the road and try to dump me off there. Here's the video of what happened from that point on.
Calm down?
Sure, I'll calm down.
Okay, good. Okay, I don't have to take that. This is my car.
I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be abusive. I was only asking for a ride.
Have somebody sit there and break me over the coals? It's not me that entered the information in the app. It's your end of the deal, not mine.
All I was saying is that you just can't threaten to dump me off on the side of the road with a bunch of groceries.
I want to. This is my vehicle. I don't work for Uber. I work for myself. Do you realize that?
Yes.
Okay. So if you want to get the app, one thing, I can take you to this address here. I can take you to the post office and let you off at the post office, and you can do your business there, and you can call another Uber driver.
Just take me to my house, please.
Okay. You understand the responsibilities on your end?
I understand. All I was saying is that I have taken Ubers a bunch of times, and I've always been able to say, can you stop at this store so I can get something real quick if it's on my route? No one's ever hassled me before, and no one has certainly ever started yelling at me.
I'm No, you're the one who started yelling.
You threatened to dump me off on the side of the road.
You're getting out.
I'm not getting it. I'd like to just go back to my house. Can I please go back to my house?
This is my personal property. Okay? I'm taking you back to where I found you. That's where you're going to start from.
What? Can't you just take me back to my house?
I'm not. You can't. Be quiet. I'm not going to take any abuse from you.
I'm not being abusive. I'm only saying that
I will make that determination.
Please just drop me back to my house.
Don't give me the please and bullshit anymore.
Excuse me, please don't curse at me.
Just be quiet. I don't have anything to say to you.
Could you please just drive me back to my house? We've paid for this ride.
Would you just be quiet?
I'll be quiet if you drive me back to my house.
I'm not playing a game with me.
I'm not playing a game. I'm just trying to get back to my home.
That's not what you were doing, and I'm not arguing the point with you any longer.
Please, I had to wait for like 15 minutes for you to show up. Can you please just take me back to my home? I didn't do anything wrong. I just asked you if you could take me to the post office on the way back home. Can you please just take me back to my house and not leave me stranded in Eureka?
There are other Uber drivers.
I'm sure there are, but we hired you and you accepted the ride.
I didn't accept your nonsense. I don't accept it now.
You are the one suggesting me the nonsense because you are taking me back to where I started from and you're speeding. You're going like 40 and it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone.
I don't need to hear any more bullshit from you.
Stop speeding.
You see how fast I'm going? Look.
Yeah, you're slowing down from 40 to 30 now and we're driving past the police station.
If you don't shut up, you're getting out right on the corner here. I'll let you off at the police station. Then you can figure out what to do from there. Do you understand?
I'm nodding my head because you said not to speak.
Hi, this is the Uber driver, Steve. I'm taking your daughter back to the Firestone tire place. She's abusive. I'm not putting up with her any longer. She's going to be left off there. You can call her another Uber driver from there.
Are you kidding me? You're calling my father?
That's right, because he's the one who has to phone for you. You understand?
Don't start calling my father and berating him in a verbally abusive tone. That is unacceptable.
You're not going to have to put up with it any longer. You're getting out.
I'll make sure nobody has to put up with this ever again. Nobody deserves to be screamed at, cursed at, and told to shut up. I mean, you don't tell people to shut up. What do you call that? I need to get my stuff out of the trunk. I was recording you the entire time. And I will put it on YouTube and be sending it to Uber. So nobody will ever have to be subjected to this shit again. Absolutely unacceptable for you to curse at a woman and tell a woman to shut up.
Shut up.
There goes Mr. Something Love. Not a very loving person. He dumped my expensive cat food off on the curb. After that happened, I waited at the Firestone tire place for about 5 minutes. After about 5 minutes, I was picked up by another Uber driver who was a woman who was very nice. There was like marijuana and tobacco like all over her car and all of the doors on the floor in the cup holders, and she was very nice.
Up there?
No, right here.
Oh.
I am in another Uber and almost back to my house.
Let's try that.
She sped a little bit, but normally I don't complain if taxi drivers or Uber drivers speed. I was only complaining when the guy was speeding because he was like in some kind of angry rage flipping out on me at the time, and he was like driving by the police station also. But as you saw in the video, he didn't seem to care. Anyway, I am safely back at my house, and I will be now going on the internet and trying to figure out some way to contact Uber and send them that video. I might just upload it onto YouTube and send them the link, but I am like horrified how that guy treated me. And at the end, where he called my dad, and he was like, "Your daughter's abusive," that was just the lowest point of the entire ride. Because luckily my dad is a very nice person and knows me very well, but some people's parents would have been like, "I did you a favor and the Uber driver said you were abusive. What's wrong with you?" Luckily my dad didn't say something like that to me. No, my dad would be more likely to call me up on the phone and ask me what was wrong with the Uber driver. Because my dad actually had a crazy experience like this when he came out to visit me years ago. He came out to visit me while I was looking for a place to rent, and we went to this rental agency in Eureka that you pay them a monthly fee to like find you all the places to rent that become available. They email you a list every day, get you in touch with the companies and stuff, and they never actually found me a place to rent. But when we first went into the office, the guy was like smoking a cigar, and this is in California. I think it was like the first state to make it illegal to smoke tobacco in buildings, but the guy was like smoking a cigar behind his desk, and it smelled really funny in there, and we felt dizzy after going in there, and we figured that they were like probably smoking meth, and they acted like really weird. They were talking really fast. They seemed really nervous when we walked in, and they were like lighting their already lit cigar and like puffing on it like they were trying to cover up the smell of something else they'd been smoking. Anyway, I think that might be the problem around here, that people around here might be on drugs. I don't really think that Uber driver was on drugs. I think he was just an asshole having a bad day. He wasn't like tweaking like some of the crazy people that I've had to deal with around here. But I just wanted to say that I was as polite to that guy as I could possibly be. At the point where I started recording, I think it was like the second time that he had pulled off into some random parking lot or spot on the side of the road saying he was going to drop me off there. I was like begging him to not drop me off on the side of the road because I didn't want to be carrying around these really slippery bags of cat food after hitting my head and possibly having a concussion. First he tried to drop me off like just on the side of the road where there's like no businesses. Then he tried to drop me off in the McDonald's parking lot at the north end of Eureka, and then in another parking lot about a block after that.
Really? That's where all the drug dealers and prostitutes are.
I know, it's like a dangerous part of town where I would have to walk for a long ways to even find like a restaurant to sit down in while I waited for another Uber. I'd also like to explain that I wasn't like trying to demand that he take me to the post office in Arcata. I've taken other Ubers and asked them if they could really quickly stop off at a business on the route so I could run into the business for a minute, like running into the grocery store to get a few things or running into the post office to get my mail. And no Uber driver has ever had a problem with it. When I asked this guy if he could stop in Arcata really quickly, he first started yelling at me and saying it was against Uber's policy, but then later on he said that it was his own car and he worked for himself, not Uber. At that point I should have said, well then why can't you take me to Arcata really quick? So the guy could have just politely said, I'm sorry, that's against Uber's policy, I can't do that. And if I said, well, other drivers have done that in the past, he could have said, well, that's their decision, but I'm not allowed to do that. He didn't have to be like, I'm stopping and letting you out, right here, right now. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And I didn't get really angry until he decided to call my dad on the phone and, like, tell my dad how much of a horrible person I was. Which really upset me because whenever my dad told me that if I couldn't get in touch with Uber, he could get an Uber for me, I knew my dad was having some kind of medical test done today, but I didn't know that it was this big thing where they were going to sedate him, and then he was going to be, you know, nearly unconscious from the anesthesia for like 24 hours. So when I called my dad and said, can you please call Uber for me because I can't, he was like half asleep, and I felt just like horrible for waking him up. And he said he was going to call them really quickly and go right back to sleep. So then the Uber driver probably woke him up from his like drug-induced sleep to tell him how much of a horrible person that I was. So that just made me really angry. Like, don't disturb my dad who's just trying to help me out, especially not when he just had some kind of like major medical procedure done and he's like drugged up from anesthesia. That's basically incoherent. And I just want to say one more thing before I end this video. I'm not going to the hospital for the bump on my head, even though I probably have a mild concussion, because I know from experience that if I go to the hospital, any one of the hospitals within like an hour of my house, I will have to wait for hours, and then they will probably do nothing, and they might be rude to me, and drug-addicted, crazy people might harass me in the waiting room, and I might also catch a cold. They might even put me in the room with somebody who has pneumonia, like they did the last time when I thought I had a broken rib. And by the way, even though I have nearly full coverage health insurance, that's not like from the state of California, but a health insurance that I actually bought, which isn't the best one you can get, but it is a really good plan, one of the more expensive ones. I still got a $2,000 bill for my share of my last hospital visit. When I thought I had a broken rib, they took one x-ray and said I didn't, and then I was pretty sure I did, but I couldn't find a doctor that would see me, and I didn't want to go back to the hospital because of the huge bill. So I just dealt with the pain, which I am still feeling, and that was like in late December or early January. So yeah, the side right here where I felt like I broke my rib still hurts, and I'm pretty sure I did break my rib, and they just took one x-ray from an angle where they couldn't see it and told me I didn't have a broken rib and sent me home. So just like my broken rib that I've recovered from on my own, I am going to recover from this lump on the head and probably mild concussion on my own. And I did just get a phone call getting some good news about my car. The brakes are actually okay. The brake squeak is not caused by something wrong with the brakes. It's caused by a tie rod that needs to be replaced, and they can't do the alignment because of the tie rod, so they're going to order the tie rod, and it's going to take a few days. So we're going to get our car back for a few days, and it's safe to drive while we wait for the part. That's the good news. And we got the parts for the work that the other place is going to do, because we're having the tire and brake place do the tire work, and a specialty mechanic that works on foreign cars like Mercedes do the rest of the work. We got the parts in. They ended up being like $200 rather than the almost $800 the mechanic was going to charge us. So pretty soon my car will be completely fixed, and it's going to cost a lot less than I thought it was going to. That's the good news. Please like this video, share this video, watch my other videos, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to share your worst experiences with Uber or Airbnb or any kind of webpage that doesn't actually sell a service but acts kind of like a third party that has people sell their own service, like Uber drivers using their own cars or people renting their own houses on Airbnb. And I'll try to make my bad Airbnb experience that I recorded like almost exactly a year ago and never put on YouTube one of my next videos. Which, by the way, Airbnb never gave me any money back for. Here's a little hint about what it's going to be about. It's going to be called cat pee in my Airbnb. Bye!